Ask Reddit by Reddit Universe. If you had 30 minutes to hide from a nuclear blast, where would you go? Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I'd always heard a basement of a library is good because books may absorb some radiation. I would find the nearest elementary school and hide under one of the desks. Anyway, that's what we were taught when I was in elementary school. There's a building at the college I work at that goes 80 feet underground and has 6-foot thick and wood sloping concrete walls. I'll be in there. Go to big ole NMR in there. I've been in a room like at my university. It's literally built to shield from as much external radiation as possible to make the measurements more accurate. Would definitely double as a bunker. Not my pick though. I have claustrophobia, first cousin of claustrophobia. I ain't getting stuck underground in a thick concrete coffin, no thanks. The nearest city is over 30 miles away, and it's all open country from where I am and for at least another 10 miles to the mountains in the other direction. Either I'd jump in the truck and try to make it to the mountains through the res or crawl under the house and hope for the best. To bed for a 30-minute nap. The lady that used to do my taxes told me that her daughter and family were in Hawaii when the false alarm went out. They got into bed with their small children and watched kids' movies, waiting to die, but keeping the kids unaware and happy. This went on for some time. Pretty easy, I would just go to my nearest bomb shelter. They're all over the place here in Finland and can house up to 4 million people, so more than enough room for the entire urban population. Every metro station also doubles as a bomb shelter, and I can walk to one of those within 10 minutes, so I would probably chill there. There are probably a bunch of shelters even closer to me though, but could be busy. You can actually walk across a lot of Helsinki center completely underground. I often do when it is raining. The underground network of tunnels is huge, and all bomb-proof. Finland actually has one of the most thorough civil defense programs in the world. In new development projects, property owners must include a civil defense shelter in buildings of at least 1,200 square meters. This actually happened to me, sort of. My wife and I were in Hawaii, near Pearl Harbor, in 2018 when the ballistic missile alert showed up on my phone. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill, it said. For a minute I thought it was fake, but why take the chance? I'd lived in Hawaii before and decided to get as far away from Pearl Harbor as I could before mass panic set in. I drove east towards Kaneohe. There's a tunnel through a mountain and I stopped in the middle. We were the second car to stop and within a few minutes the entire tunnel was full. After about 30 more minutes a friend of mine in Kaneohe texted that it had been mistake. He'd had his wife lie down in the bathtub while he watched the TV for updates. It was a pretty frightening experience. Yes, I remember this day also. I was about to head to the beach with some friends for a barbecue and I was telling my parents goodbye and that I love them. Right before we stepped out of the door, everything went silent as all of our phones simultaneously went off with the warning. It was terrifying. My father is ex-military and he just sat down. My mother, who has terrible anxiety, sat next to him. They said nothing. My friends and I shared a glance at each other, sat down, and they each called their family to say goodbye. It was surreal. After everything got confirmed as a false alarm, we still went to the beach. Most surreal experience I've ever had. There is an old building near me that has a basement. I know what boards to move to get into the basement from the outside. It's the only building I know of within about 100 miles that is entirely reinforced brick masonry with a basement, and I'm sure I'd spend the apocalyptic event chatting with several homeless people who also know about the board. We'd all survive though. There is an old building near me that has a basement. I know what boards to move to get into the basement from the outside. It's the only building I know of within about 100 miles that is entirely reinforced brick masonry with a basement, and I'm sure I'd spend the apocalyptic event chatting with several homeless people who also know about the board. We'd all survive though. Right answer. This is how my mom's friend's son survived Hiroshima. He was taking a break in the basement when the bomb hit. His co-worker classmate who was still outside was severely burned and later died. I saw some old civil defense stuff from the 50s that suggested doing the same thing. I'd go have a pint at the Winchester and wait for the whole thing to blow over. There's a fallout shelter in a bank about a mile down from where I live that was built back in the 60s. I'd probably yoink some snacks and a bottle of Jack from the kitchen and sprint down there, then hunker down for a few days. If it's locked, then, well, I can polish off the Jack and wait for the fireworks. If I knew it was coming, I'd just drive away. Distance makes all the difference with nuclear blasts. I'm close to mountains in the outer suburbs of a big city. I'd drive in that mountain direction as we often have winds from there. Minimal fallout that way too. If leaving the city was not an option, I'd just hit up my basement. It's below ground enough that I think I'd be fairly safe. I'd gather my dogs and cats and go up to our bedroom and cuddle my husband. Give the doggies and kitties some treats on the bed and hope they don't jump off so that my last moments are a cuddle fest. There is an old library built in the 1960s less than a mile from my house with a basement fallout shelter. I know because I always see the old 1960s fallout shelter signs and consider stealing one, but the potential of getting caught and being banned from the library for the rest of my life stops me every time. I would not hide. I will stay outside. I know where the nuke is going to be, so I go closer. I rather not have the most depressing years of my life. I can't do anything, so I rather just die than live the worst moments of my entire life. I'd grab a six-pack, grab a chair and sit outside calling my family and friends while waiting for the end. I'm not suicidal, but any world that would exist after my city gets bombed would be unrecognizable and probably not worth surviving for. Down the street, into the woods, up the path, over the creek, up the hill and into Vault 111. I'm a diabetic and on dialysis. Even if I did survive initially, I wouldn't for very long afterwards. I'd just load Fallout on the PS4 and laugh at the irony. I'll just get blown up, die with my family. I'll live in a super small country called Singapore. If a nuke ever detonates in the center of Singapore, the whole country will disappear. I would lose everything I know and love. Friends, family and everything. I rather just disappear than go to the underground train system and slowly rot there and starve. As someone who received an emergency alert on their cell phone around 8 AM on Oahu, Hawaii, I just said FCK it and stayed in my bedroom. Most nuclear blasts are survivable from over 2 miles away, so I would just hop in my car and drive, unless everybody knew about it and the roads were blocked, in which case I go down a manhole into the sewers. In the blast, why would I let a chance for a free superpower go to waste? I can't really say I'm built different. A church. It'll probably be my last chance to get on God's good side. Nowhere. My place is so serene. I would bring my dogs inside, give them lots of codeine and lots of lovely food, then humanely euthanize them unless I knew they would die quickly from the radiation. I would then go to my drinks cabinet and get out everything. We would start with the champagne in the fridge, and continue with Hemingway daiquiris, Vespa martinis, and everything else in the drinks cabinet. Then take all the codeine in the house, and sit on the balcony. It is our sanctuary. No point in trying to hide, as you could be stuck in that place for years, due to the fallout. I don't want to be stuck in a bunker for the rest of my life. Myself and both of my girlfriends are disabled and don't drive, so we simply wouldn't have anywhere to escape to. There are no tunnels near us that we could get to in time. I think we just close all our windows, maybe try to put some furniture over doors and things like that. Put the cats in their carriers and just try to stay together. Drive close enough to the part of the blast radius where you are instantly obliterated. I read there's a certain distance from a nuclear blast where everything just bursts into flames. That just sounds like a terrible way to go. I'd go to where the bomb would hit, ready my tennis racket, and return that bad boy where it came from. I would tune into Diamond City Radio, adopt a German Shepherd and cross my fingers. Mythbusters probably busted it, but I'd be intrigued if Indiana Jones' fridge method would work. Otherwise underground car park, but I'd rather go with a more fun one. Sadly, it doesn't. If you're in the epicenter, the fridge will either 1 melt instantly, 2 get crushed, 3 melt and get crushed, 4 not protect you from the immediately deadly dose of radiation. Remember, at the moment of detonation, the blast reaches a temperature comparable to that of the fucking sun. If you're close to that, you're done. Now, if you're farther away, your chances are better, but there's a good chance that the shockwave kills you anyway, or the radiation gets you. I'd go to where the bomb would hit, ready my tennis racket, and return that bad boy where it came from. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Reddit Universe.